Mom Training Podcast with Diana Ballard.
Hey ladies, welcome to the Mom Training Podcast. I'm so excited for today's session. It's going to be so good. The success of motherhood. Now, what exactly does that mean to you? Now, we're going to talk today, kind of dive in about there's more than one way to succeed in motherhood. And it can be what you want to do. It can be what your neighbor wants to do for themselves. It can be what your sister wants to do for herself. But there are different ways for us to feel success and feel joy and happiness. So today we're going to have Rachael Amarante with us today. She is a motivation coach, a best-selling author, a speaker, and a mom of 4 young boys. She's going to teach us today about motivation, how to really focus on what brings us joy and confidence in our motherhood. So Rachael, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. I feel like I've been following you for a million years, and now I am grateful to be here and chatting with you.
Yeah, and you're awesome. I've been able to start to get to know Rachael, and she's just absolutely amazing. So tell us a little bit more about your passion and what you do.
Yes. So like you said, I have 4 little boys. They are 4, 9, 10, and 11. So we have a very busy household. And a while ago, before my youngest was born, I had a fancy job with a fancy title in a fancy industry, and everything looked just perfect. And women would come up to me and say, "You have it all, and you must be Superwoman." And I grew to crave that title. I needed it so that I felt like I was enough. But every day I would still go home and not feel that way. And I still felt stuck and overwhelmed and worried and anxious and at the end of my rope with my kids. And I realized that I was doing it wrong. But instead of turning inward, which we'll talk about, that I learned how to do, I tried doing more. I'm a type A overachieving perfectionist. So I was like, maybe I need to climb faster. Maybe I need to mother better. I'm going to hide every imperfection of myself and my children so that no one can see what is actually going on, that I'm just trying to control my surroundings because I'm afraid of being imperfect. I'm afraid of not making it to the top of this ladder that our society has put on us. And it took until another young mother who worked for me came to me and said, "How do you do it all?" And in that moment, I had the opportunity to lift her up and to tell her the truth and to make her feel like she had space. And instead, I did what I had learned so well from our society. And I shrugged my shoulders and I was like, it's really no big deal. But I really wanted to scream that this was all a massive tornado right behind me that I wasn't letting anyone see. And really, it was that day that I decided I needed to quit my job, and I wasn't going to do what I was doing anymore. I wasn't going to be perfect anymore. And instead I was going to look for joy. Instead, I was going to find new ladders to success. I was going to teach my children that it's not about money and the way you look and the way things seem to the external world, but your success comes from how you feel about yourself and the relationships you choose to have. And that's how I started doing what I'm doing now, coaching other women how to do that and how our confidence and power directly relates to how our children view this world. So That's my backstory.
That's amazing. I'll tell you, I can guarantee you just spoke to a lot of people with your story.
We're all there. We've all been there in different ways, and we need each other. And I'm grateful for people like you who have kind of been doing this for a while, who are talking about what's real. And we as mothers have the power to change the world. And I believe that starts with how we view ourselves and how we take care of ourselves first.
Yeah. Well, and it's very interesting because you talking about how you're like, I'm not going to be perfect anymore and I'm going to look for joy. I honestly feel like that's a journey that I'm on right now.
Mhm.
Because, you know, if my house isn't clean, then I'd get really mad. If my, you know, if things weren't working around me, if I'm not able to do things, even like for my husband, you know,
Yeah.
like being like, oh, well, this is why this isn't done. And this is, you
Yes.
know, this over here. And
Yes.
don't worry, like, oh, I just want to update you on the finances, which is all good stuff, right? But I
Mhm.
realized the motivation behind it
Yep.
was that, again, it was like, am I enough? Right.
Right.
Am I
Right.
going to be accepted, not pushed
Right.
out of the herd
Right.
by like, oh, like you're not up to this level. Like when I created the level myself. Right.
It's the beginning of the justification. I mean, like, look, if you are happy with a big corporate title in a fancy industry, that's amazing. That is your journey. But the why is the thing,
Mhm.
it's the work that I do with women on figuring out why. Why are you there? Is it fulfilling you? Is it
Yeah.
teaching? Is it the way that you want to live? If you can answer yes, that's amazing. But if it's a no, or if it's a maybe not right now, then be okay with transforming and pivoting, because we're so afraid to fail. And I think it's an incredible disservice to our lives and to our kids.
Yeah. Well, it just kind of like makes me think of like I'm a total visual person here. So it makes me think of like a piece of paper with a bunch of paint, and you were supposed to paint this pretty picture, and like how much more fun it would be to just put both hands in the paint and just smear all over the page. That's where I'm at right now. I'm like, woo! I'm
Have
just gonna
you
smear and get it all over the place and put it all over myself and just enjoy the heck out of life and not have to have it look like a pretty
yes,
picture right now.
have you okay, oh my god, that's so funny, because I recently just heard this quote from Deepak Chopra's brother that he said. And he was like, I was talking to Deepak this one day, and I was saying, you know, we need to think a little bit outside the box. And Deepak's response was, what box?
Yeah.
And I read that quote and I was so taken back by it that I actually had a conversation with my boys about it, my older three. And they were like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? And so I was kind of explaining it to them. And it was one of those moments, you know, as a mother, when you're trying to explain something, but you actually realize that you're reteaching it to yourself. Because in that conversation, I was like, oh my God, I've always colored in the lines. Teachers always recognized me for my work. And that's why I did it perfectly in the way they needed to. My parents, our religion, our, you know, just the choices in life were always in a tiny box. And it was like, what would happen if I just like put my foot outside the box? And it was just perfectly what you just said. Like, I just want to smash my hands in the paint and make a beautiful, wild, adventurous mural.
Yeah. On the
Right?
wall. Just
On the
all over the wall.
walls. On the walls.
Make it permanent. I'm putting it everywhere. Gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. No, for sure. So tell me a little bit about the success of motherhood. I'd love to hear what you help women see and feel about what the success of motherhood could look like for them.
Yeah. I think that I know actually that we as mothers in our society right now want to do more. And we are getting to that place where we all feel, I want to do more. I want to do something on the side. I want to switch it up. I want to do this. And that's great. Like, that's the first step. However, the first thing we do then is, because this is what we are taught in our society to do, is we look outside. Mm-hmm. This mom is doing it this way. This influencer is doing it that way. This business owner did it that way. And those people can be great inspiration for you. They can be what I call as good comparison, right? To get us off of our chairs and moving. However, that's not where you start. That will cripple you if you first are not grounded down into who you are and what you want. So what I do first is actually the opposite of, you know, let's build a business model, or let's reframe your ideas around a successful marriage or motherhood. Let's go in reverse. First, let's do some work. I used a lot of tools from ancient Chinese medicine and meditation, which I hate meditating, but I have a really good one that I will do. And I do with the women on my teams that also invokes action. And what it does is when you strip down all the external of all the things we thought were important, all the shoulds. I should do this because good mothers do that. I should do this because good business owners do that. If you take away all those things and you really just strip down to who you are, the what you want and the purpose comes out of that. And that is how you gain the internal confidence. And then you don't have to be afraid about going out there and getting it. And that is when you get out there in the external world. So you ground down first before you can hustle. And when you do it in that way, you won't feel mom guilt because you know your purpose is to drive yourself forward, and your kids are going to follow you in that purpose and in that drive and on that adventure.
Well, and I think that's so important to know your sense of self, because that is really where you can align to what truly means something to you. And that is like that purpose, and that passion actually can create more power than literally anything.
Yes.
I just want to share one quick example. So if people that have listened to the podcast here already know this, so I'm not dropping some bombs. But I used to be a drug addict and alcoholic for many years. And what actually pulled me out of that lifestyle, I never did rehab. I never had to go to classes or things like that, was I actually started focusing on who I was. Mm-hmm. And it came down to me writing, like, I like rain. I like putting my feet in the stream, like my bare feet in the stream, and having it run over my toes. I like these types of food. I really like to do these types of activities. I do this. And what it did is it birthed out of me a purpose and a sense of self that I didn't need all of that other stuff, or the people that treated me badly, or the dishonesty that comes with that type of lifestyle, and the different things like that. And so, and that is really what transformed me into being able to create a better life. And I feel like it's the same with motherhood too. Sometimes we can forget those little things that we like, but if we can really sit down and talk to ourselves about what exactly do I like? What do I like doing? And how can I implement that into my, daily practice as a mother? Then that purpose really does come through, because I believe that we're a very powerful being. Each person carries such a power with them. And if we're able to tap into that and figure out what success means to us, and what type of life we want to create, then, we're limitless, we're powerful, and we're able to create so many amazing things in our life.
That brings tears to my eyes, because it's proof that this works.
Yeah.
And no matter where you are in your life, you need that. And when you become a mother, it changes you. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And I think that our culture right now, all we do is make fun of motherhood. And don't get me wrong, like, it makes me laugh, because we're mothers of, 8 children combined, right? And like, we're just, it is funny and it is daunting some days, but it's also our opportunity. Like, it's supposed to make us powerful.
Yep.
We are scaring away the mothers who are not yet mothers, because they'll come up to me and say, I don't know that I want to be a mother, because like, it looks like too much. You guys like just make fun of it all the time. I still want to be a vegetarian. I still want to work out. I still want to do all these things. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Like this is what we're doing to the next generation. Yep. But we have such opportunity when we become mothers, because we change. But it's hard, because the time is no longer our own. And so as our children are changing, so are we. And we are supposed to be doing that. But we've learned that it's not okay. And so that's where we get stuck, and that's where we feel lost and unheard and exhausted and overwhelmed instead. But your story proves our strength. That's what it proves.
Yeah.
How powerful it is.
Yeah. No, it really is an amazing gift for us to be able to design our life, which is something we focus on in mom training, is designing motherhood, which is being able to create the life that you want.
And then do it over and over and over again.
Yep.
Like you and I were just talking before we started taping. We're, in motherhood and our kids are all young. If we want to change something, let's change it. We're the leaders. Just do it. And you don't have to, when you turn inward first and you are happy and energetic and have purpose in your own life as the woman and the mother, you can do that and make those changes with your family with confidence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want my boys to learn from me, is how to do that. And that's what a mother is.
Well, yeah, for sure. And it really does come down to soul searching, because like another example here. So before I got married, my goal for motherhood was I wanted a little house with a husband, with kids, with chickens, a dog, and a garden. I literally live in that exact thing now. And like a year ago, I was like, so now what do I do?
Yes.
Because it's all here. I've manifested it. It's all like literally every single thing I had on my list, I have. And so what's my next step? Right. And so this last year for me has been really trying to figure out well, what do I want? Well, I want a home where my kids can bring their friends. Right. I want to be the home where all the kids come. Okay. That's my goal. And so how do I create that? I want a party place, right? Like we want a world school. We want to go travel around the world and do these things. And I want to homeschool and do all these different things. So it's been really interesting because, I eventually will create all those things too. Right. And then it's going to be back to the creation mode and the soul searching and figuring out what's the next step then. And I have no idea, my mind can't even comprehend what's past what I'm starting to create now.
It can become very overwhelming. So, and I also want to make it clear that some of these times in our lives where we are feeling I'm rolling my shoulders right now, we're uncomfortable or a little we made it to where we thought we were going to be. We're like, oh my God, we're here. And then you're just saying but then there's these new things and that can feel overwhelming. Yeah. And honestly, that stuck period, a lot of that could come from negativity, that could come from failure, and that can come from the ending of relationships or things like that. And I call that period wintering. Okay. So if we allow ourselves to winter first, which is you really coil inward and turn inward. And for me, when I winter, it is a lot less social media. It is a lot more writing. It is a lot less external communication and a lot more internal communication, let's say. And then, so you have that confidence, that foundation to take it to the next step when you feel like you are ready to come out of that period of wintering.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to plug in here though, that can we look at that season also as exciting in a sense too, because it's giving us a new opportunity for growth. Just, with my garden, you have to clear the ground. You got to wait for the right time to plant. You got to wait for the right things, give it exactly what it needs to make it grow. And it's work in the beginning. It's a lot of waiting, and it's trying to figure out exactly what you need to do to get things built. But as you start planting seeds and start to see the fruit and the harvest from it, it's very rewarding. And so just to kind of plug in here that in that uncomfortable stage, try to shift your mindset just a little bit to see that, hey, this is actually a really exciting moment that I'm in, that I'm being able to create something new. And yes, it feels uncomfortable right now, but can I logically say, this is an amazing moment that I've been given, and try to open my mind to that? Because I feel like I have just been in a winter season, and you kind of feel why am I I'm so cold, and I'm in here in the dirt. What am I doing? Can I poke my head out yet?
Yes.
But that time does come, and the things that you want do blossom, and they do come out.
Yes.
And that's when you truly feel fulfillment and that success of
I
motherhood
mean,
and what you're creating.
I think the wintering period is the most magical. I mean,
Ooh.
imagine it's like literally sitting early in the morning when the house is still quiet with a candle and a good book or a piece of paper just to write, even if you're not a writer. Okay. That's the wintering morning versus the external harvesting, if you will. Let's use gardens because I'm a big gardener too. Right. So is the wake up early, do a hardcore workout, send out your PR emails and get your business going. Now, wintering doesn't mean our businesses have to go away or they can go away or our mothering needs to go away, but it is a different mindset. It is just as powerful and needed in our lives. And yet all we've been doing as mothers is pushing outward, more out. And that's not getting us anywhere. So if we allow ourselves to like sort of flip back and forth between this internal, external, that's where we find power and confidence. Right.
Yeah. No,
I love the wintering time. You know, I think it's what we all need sometimes.
Right. Well, and again, I also think if we don't realize we're in the wintering season, it can feel pretty rough.
Yes. Oh my God. It's terrible.
You know, I think the wintering season, sometime you can look back at and be like, what a lovely time that was of creation, you know, but like sometimes when you're caught in the moment, you're like, yo, what is going on here? You know,
and then we
try
to fight it, right? We try to fight it for a while. And for me, I remember the first time, and like when I came to this realization, like, this is what I'm going to be calling this wintering, because it was after a loss of a relationship, like a 7-day migraine, crazy stomach gut issues, a tore tendon in my leg, sharp pain in my teeth. It was like, it had to, it like smacked me, you know, and it was like, you have to stop. You have to stop right now treating yourself this way. So that forced me into wintering because I was fighting it so badly because I didn't do that. I was like, no. I'm just going to go faster and plow through this. Mm-hmm. And that is making us all sick, frankly.
Yeah.
So no more plowing through.
Well, and two, like a lot of our hard times, I mean, I can think back over the last 2 years, some like really challenging times that created the most amazing results at the end of it. And, you know, of course that was, again, looking back and seeing like, oh, wow, like that really challenging couple months, like literally like birthed like a whole new beauty that I never would have had or created if I wouldn't have struggled then. And not that I'm saying like, oh yeah, like let's have tons of struggles, right? Like, cause none of us want that, but
they're normal.
Yeah.
And normalizing the conversation around the failures, because those are the ones that make us grow. And frankly, I'm pretty positive that all of us mothers have been there in the past 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah.
All of us have come out of this world much different than we went into it. And that's good. And so now we're all like, okay, well, what do we do with it? So now let's figure out together what you do with that, what you do with this new person, this new belief system, this new purpose that you came out of this with.
Yeah. And just realizing that it's okay to have the slate cleared a little bit for you.
Yeah.
Because,
agreed.
You know, to be able to like draw, like it's kind of a gift to drop all the balls.
Yeah.
I feel like I have just went through right now. Like, just like literally like, I just gotta let them go. I'm sorry. Just, you know, and they all just fall to the ground, and you know, that can feel, especially for a type A personality, it's like, oh my gosh, like I just can't. But what a gift it is now that I get to choose what balls I pick up.
Right.
And who I give balls to. Like, you know what? Like I was holding, like, so I've hired a whole bunch more people, and we've went and got rid of tons of stuff in our house, and I'm just completely like, boom, you know, like out of the way, because these are the only things I'm going to carry. This is the only way. Like, and we're going to look for joy. We've dropped a whole bunch of expectations.
Yep.
And so, those challenging times can be utilized as like a major gift if we let it.
Yes. And when you start feeling those feelings, like, let's get rid of stuff and wait, let's switch up who we hire and what we pick up. That is your feeling. That is your internal, that is your soul telling you, I'm coming out of my wintering now. Like, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do things. And then you have the confidence to do them and not be afraid to do them because you're on the right path. That whole system is where the magic comes from. And then you don't have to be afraid anymore.
And there really is magic in life. I mean,
a lot of it.
when you start going on the path that's yours and not like again, I say influenced, but we can be inspired, like you talked about, from different people. And I highly recommend finding people who have what you want, learning how they do it and doing what they do. Right.
Yep.
But you need to figure out exactly what you want. But like heading on that path, I'll tell you, I feel like I'm finally getting back on mine. And I mean, literal magic. Like, I went on a trip by myself. I love traveling by myself. I had to bring my baby with me, but next time. But going by myself, and I show up and I get upgraded to like a new room, and then I meet someone and I find this perfect ring that I want and do all these different things, and it's like, whoa, like I mean life has been good, but like wow, the magic is wonderful.
Yes, it's so true. You start to listen and see the clues and things, the doors open. It is amazing. I had a very, very similar experience. And I swear to God, every time I go back to this meditation and these tools that I use, every time I go back to them, it provides insight to me. And then the next few days, I'll be, jotting something down. Someone will inspire me. And my thing is always like, I reach out to, if someone pops into my head, I reach out to them. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason why that person is in your head. So it's hey, like, I just hope you're having a good day. I don't know. Every single time people are writing back to me. I don't care if it's like a famous celebrity or like my next door neighbor who's like an old man. And you never know how that impacts somebody else's life. Yep. And all of a sudden business opportunities are coming from these places. I'm like, what is happening right now? Yep. I'm actually just listening to myself and not everybody else.
Yeah. And that does come down to quieting yourself and quieting the world around you.
Yep.
There's so much distraction and noise that we really do need to be able to tap into what our heart wants, what our soul wants, and what is going to create that success in our own life.
And I don't want to sound like this is easy. Like, look, we all have children, businesses to run, spouses, partners, other family members. Like, we all have a lot of stuff, right? We are all busy, but this needs to be a priority for mothers. The
time that it takes is priceless.
This is our life.
Yeah.
This is our time to live. This is our children's time to grow, and it's our time to live.
Yeah. And
I think that it's something that we need to remember every day, to take care of ourselves first, not self-care. Like, sure, get a bubble bath, have a girls' weekend. That's fine. To me, that gets you back to neutral. That stops us from like a little bit tipping into burnout, right? But taking care of yourself every day, and your thoughts and your words and the relationships you choose to have and the expectations that you drop, that's taking care of yourself. And that's what we need to be doing more of, in my opinion.
No, for sure. So I would love to keep going, but we're getting close to the end here. So why don't you tell our listeners here where to connect with you?
Yes. You can find me on Instagram. I'm sure we can add my handle to the show notes.
Yep.
I also have a website, the Awakening Motherhood Project. You can contact me on there always. I love to connect to women. I have an ongoing team of women that we work together on a monthly basis that you are always, always welcome to join. And that's that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. It was a very good conversation. that I know a lot of moms connected with, because we're all looking for that fulfillment and that success and joy in motherhood.
Yeah. I love your stories, and I think your examples are exactly what I'm trying to work to get out to the world. And I also want to make it clear that I'm not on top of the mountain, like I'm still there right with everybody, just because I figured it out today. Like I think it's very easy to preach as though you've already made it, but we're all in this together. And I want to make that very clear,
Yeah. We're always on to our next step of what we need to be doing. And it's different for every single person, but everyone's working on things. Everyone's struggling with something. And that's the beauty of life. We get to support each other. We get to grow together. So yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So ladies, I want to encourage you to have courage to listen to yourself, to take care of yourself, to step into that mode of designing motherhood and setting up success for your own life. And we'll see you next Tuesday on the Mom Training Podcast.